The Wolf and the Seven Little Kids, a tale of Brothers Grimm. There was once upon a time an old goat who had 7 little kids and loved them with all the love of a mother for her children. One day she wanted to go into the forest and fetch some food. So she called all 7 to her and said, "Dear children, I have to go into the forest. Be on your guard against the wolf. If he comes in, he will devour you all, skin, hair, and all. The wretch often disguises himself, but you will know him at once by his rough voice and his black feet." The kids said, "Dear mother, we will take good care of ourselves. Go away without any anxiety." Then the old one bleated and went on her way with an easy mind. It was not long before someone knocked at the door and called, "Open the door, dear children. Your mother is here and has brought something back with her for each of you." But the little kids knew it was the wolf by the rough voice. "We will not open the door," cried they. "You are not our mother. She has a soft, pleasant voice, but your voice is rough. You are the wolf." Then the wolf went away to a shopkeeper and bought himself a great lump of chalk, ate it, and made his voice soft with it. Then he came back, knocked at the door of the house, and said, "Open the door, dear children. Your mother is here and has brought something back with her for each of you." But the wolf had laid his black paws against the window, and the children saw them and cried, "We will not open the door. Our mother has not black feet like you. You are the wolf." Then the wolf ran to a baker and said, "I have hurt my feet. Rub some dough over them for me." And when the baker had rubbed his feet over, he ran to the miller and said, "Strew some white meal over my feet for me." The miller thought to himself, "The wolf wants to deceive someone," and refused, but the wolf said, "If you will not do it, I will eat you." Then the miller was afraid and made his paws white for him. Truly, men are like that. So now the wretch went for the 3rd time to the house door, knocked at it, and said, "Open the door for me, children. Your dear little mother has come home and has brought every one of you something back from the forest with her." And the kids cried, "First show us your paws, that we may know if you are our mother." And he put his paws in through the window. When the kids saw they were white, they believed that all he said was true, and opened the door. And who came in but the wolf? They were terrified and wanted to hide themselves. One sprang under the table, the 2nd into the bed, the 3rd into the stove, the 4th into the kitchen, the 5th into the cupboard, the 6th under the washing bowl, and the 7th into the clock case. The wolf found them all and used no great ceremony. One after another he swallowed them down his throat. Only the youngest, who was in the clock case, did he not find. When the wolf had satisfied his appetite, he took himself off, laid himself down under a tree in a green meadow outside, and began to sleep. Soon afterwards the old goat came home again from the forest, and what a sight she saw there! The house door stood wide open, the table, chairs, and benches were thrown down, the washing bowl lay broken to pieces, the quilts and pillows were pulled off the bed. She sought her children, but they were nowhere to be found. She called them one after another by name, but none answered. At last, when she came to the youngest, a soft voice cried, "Mother, mother, I am in the clock case." She took the kid out, and it told her the wolf had come and had eaten all the others. Then you may imagine how she wept over her poor children. At length, in her grief, she went out, and the youngest kid ran with her. When they came to the meadow, there lay the wolf by the tree, and snored so loud the branches above shook. She looked at him on every side, and saw something was moving and struggling in his gorged belly. "Heavens," said she, "is it possible my poor children, whom he has swallowed down for his supper, can still be alive?" Then the kid had to run home and fetch scissors and needle and thread, and the goat cut open the monster's stomach, and hardly had she made one cut than one little kid thrust its head out, and when she cut further, all 6 sprang out one after another, and were still alive, and had suffered no injury whatsoever, for in his greediness the monster had swallowed them whole. And what rejoicing there was! They embraced their mother and jumped like a tailor at his wedding. The mother, however, said, "Now go look for some big stones, and we will fill the wicked beast's stomach with them while he is asleep." Then the 7 kids dragged the stones hither with all speed, and put as many of them into his stomach as they could get in, and the mother sewed him up again in great haste, so he was not aware of anything, and never once stirred. When the wolf at length had had his sleep out, he got on his legs. As the stones in his stomach made him very thirsty, he went to go to a well to drink. But when he began to walk and move about, the stones in his stomach knocked against each other and rattled, and he cried, "What rumbles and tumbles against my poor bones? I thought 'twas 6 kids, but it's naught but big stones." And when he got to the well and stooped over the water and was just about to drink, the heavy stones made him fall in, and there was no help, but he had to drown miserably. When the 7 kids saw that, they came running to the spot and cried aloud, "The wolf is dead! The wolf is dead!" and danced for joy, ran about the well with their mother. The Wolf and the Fox, a tale of Brothers Grimm. The wolf had the fox with him, and whatsoever the wolf wished, the fox was compelled to do, for he was the weaker, and he would gladly be rid of his master. It chanced, once they were going through the forest, the wolf said, "Red fox, get me something to eat, or I will eat thee thyself." And the fox answered, "I know a farmyard where there are 2 young lambs. If you are inclined, we shall fetch one of them." That suited the wolf, and as they went, the fox stole the little lamb, took it to the wolf, and went away. The wolf devoured it, but was not satisfied with one. He wanted the other as well, and went to get it. As he did, however, he did it so awkwardly, the mother of the lamb heard him and began to cry out terribly and bleat, so that the farmer came running near. They found the wolf and beat him so mercilessly he went to the fox limping and howling. "You have misled me finally," said he. "I wanted to fetch the other lamb, and the country folks surprised me and have beaten me to jelly." The fox replied, "Why art thou such a glutton?" Next day they went again into the country, and the greedy wolf once more said, "Red fox, get me something to eat, or I will eat thee thyself." And then answered the fox, "I know a farmhouse where the wife is baking pancakes tonight. We will get some of them for ourselves." They went there, and the fox slipped round the house and peeped and sniffed about till he discovered where the dish was, and then drew down 6 pancakes and carried them to the wolf. "There is something to eat," he told him, and went his way. The wolf swallowed down the pancakes in an instant, and said, "They make one want more," and went hither and tore the whole dish down so that it broke into pieces. This made such a great noise that the woman came out, and when she saw the wolf, she called the people, who hurried and beat him as long as their sticks would hold together, till with 2 lame legs and howling loudly he got back to the fox in the forest. "How abominably hast thou misled me!" cried he. "The peasants caught me and tanned my skin for me." The fox replied, "Why art thou such a glutton?" On the 3rd day, when they were out together, the wolf could only limp along painfully. He again said, "Red fox, get me something to eat, or I will eat thee thyself." The fox answered, "I know a man who has been killing, and the salted meat is lying in a barrel in the cellar. We will get that." Said the wolf, "I will go in when you do, and you may help me if I am not able to get away." "I am willing," said the fox, and they showed him the bypaths and ways by which at length they reached the cellar. There was meat in abundance, and the wolf attacked it instantly, and thought, "There is plenty of time before I need leave off." The fox liked it also, but looked about everywhere, and often ran to the hole by which they had come in, and tried if his body was still thin enough to slip through it. The wolf said, "Fox, tell me why thou art running here and there, and jumping in and out." "I must see that no one is coming," replied the crafty fellow. "Don't eat too much." And the wolf said, "I shall not leave until the barrel is empty." In the meantime, the farmer, who had heard the noise of the fox's jumping, came to the cellar. When the fox saw him, he was out of the hole with one bound. The wolf wanted to follow, but had made himself so fat with eating he could no longer get through, but stuck fast. Then came the farmer with a cudgel and struck him dead. But the fox bounded into the forest, glad to be rid of the old glutton. The end. The Wolf and the Man, a tale of Brothers Grimm. Once on a time the fox was talking to the wolf of the strength of man, how no animal could withstand him, and how all were obliged to employ cunning in order to preserve themselves from him. Then the wolf answered, "If I had but the chance of seeing a man for myself, I would set on him." "I could help you to do that," said the fox. "Come to me early tomorrow morning, and I will show you one." The wolf presented himself betimes, and the fox took him out on the road by which huntsmen went daily. First came a discharged soldier. "Is that a man?" inquired the wolf. "No," said the fox, "that was once one." Afterwards came a little boy who was going to school. "Is that a man?" "No, that is going to be one some day." At length came a hunter with a double-barreled gun at his back and a hanger by his side, and said the fox to the wolf, "Look, there comes a man. Attack him. I will take myself off to my hole." The wolf rushed on the man. When the huntsman saw him, he said, "Pity I have not loaded with a bullet," aimed and fired his small shot in his face. The wolf pulled a wry face, but did not let himself be frightened, and attacked him again, on which the huntsman gave him a second barrel. The wolf swallowed his pain and rushed on the huntsman, but he drew out his bright hanger and gave him a few cuts with it right and left, so that bleeding everywhere he ran howling back to the fox. "Well, brother wolf," said the fox, "how did you get on with the man?" "Ah," said the wolf, "I never imagined the strength of man to be what it is. First he took a stick from his shoulder, which blew into it, that something flew into my face, which tickled terribly. Then he breathed once more into the stick, and it flew into my nose like lightning and hail. When I was quite close, he drew a white rib out of his side and beat me with it, so that I was all but left lying dead." "And see what a braggart thou art," said the fox. "You throw your hatchet so far that you cannot fetch it back again." The end. Gossip Wolf and the Fox, a tale of Brothers Grimm. The she-wolf brought forth the young one, and invited the fox to be godfather. "After all, he's a near relative of ours," said she. "He has a good understanding and much talent. He can instruct my little one, and help him forward in the world." The fox, too, appeared quite honest, and said, "Worthy Mrs. Gossip, I thank you for the honour which you are doing me. I will, however, conduct myself in such a way you shall be repaid for it." He enjoyed himself at the feast and made merry, and afterward he said, "Dear Mrs. Gossip, it is our duty to take care of the child. It must have good food that it may be strong. I know a sheepfold from which we might fetch a nice morsel." The wolf was pleased with the ditty and went out with the fox to the farmyard. He pointed out the fold from afar and said, "You will be able to creep in there without being seen. In the meantime I will look on the other side and see if I can pick up a chicken." He, however, did not go there, but sat down at the entrance to the forest, stretched his legs, and waited. The she-wolf crept into the stable. A dog was lying there, and it made such a noise the peasants came running out, caught Gossip Wolf, and poured a strong burning mixture which had been prepared for washing over her skin. At last she escaped and dragged herself outside, and there lay the fox, who pretended to be full of complaints, and said, "Dear Mistress Gossip, how ill I have fared! The peasants have fallen on me and broken every limb I have. If you do not want me to lie where I am and perish, you must carry me away." The she-wolf herself was only able to go away slowly, but she was in such concern about the fox she took him on her back and slowly carried him, perfectly safe and sound, to her house. Then the fox cried to her, "Farewell, dear Mistress Gossip. May the roasting you've had do you good," laughed heartily at her, and bounded off. The end.